Hey everybody, Casey Miller here with Asia Evans for this week's episode of Facebook Live with one of our National Advisory Board members. We're so excited to have Asia joining us today for the next 30 minutes and want to welcome everybody who is going to be tuning in from around the US, around the world, and welcome you all to, as always, ask questions. Let us know where you're watching from. Chat in the comments section. You'll notice that I will check my phone every once in a while just to see the comments that are coming in. I see Trey Thompson joined, Emily Ogden, and so would love to hear from you all. Again, any questions that you might have. Asia is an Olympic medalist bobsledder for Team USA. She's currently in Chicago, sheltering in place like all of us. And Asia, we're so lucky to have joined our National Advisory Board earlier this year. And you may have heard her podcast with Jason Sachs, and it's fascinating, and we're excited to build on some of that conversation here today. So I think Asia is going to be sharing the feed on her Facebook page as well. So if you're tuning in from Asia's page, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Yes.
So I think just to start, tell us, what have you been up to over the last couple of months during quarantine?
Right.
Have you been staying busy? How's it been going over there in Chicago?
Well, first, thank you for having me. I have so much love for my PCA family and just want to say hello to everyone tuning in. Hope everyone's safe, staying home and trying to stay well. I think for me, I just celebrated my birthday on Tuesday. Yes, thank you. So that was interesting. It made me really appreciate just quality time with my family, my loved ones, and just gratitude to see another year. Outside of that, I've been working really hard to balance just doing everything from home and being in this space for so long. I think it was a little tough for me at first because I was really excited about a lot of opportunities I had lined up prior to this shelter in place order and everything happening with COVID. And so when it all came to a halt, it threw me off a little bit. But then as I started to take some time to myself and start back connecting with friends and family, it just gave me a new appreciation for what I have and using what I have now and trying to still benefit others and give in any way I can. And so getting virtual, going live and stuff is all new for me, but it's exciting and fun.
I love it. Well, we're so happy to have you joining us today. And for those of you who are just tuning in, we're here with Olympic medalist in bobsledding for Team USA, Asia Evans. She's currently in Chicago, and she serves on PCA's National Advisory Board. And so we're going to be having a conversation here on our Facebook page. So welcome. I see that Emily says hello from New Jersey. Sue Hunt, great to have Asia. Trey from Houston. Beth's joining from her husband's page. Ray,
Hey,
hello,
Beth.
welcome.
That's my girl. Love you, Beth. Hope you're well.
Love it. So thinking about, obviously, Positive Coaching Alliance, our core mission is that kids have a positive character building youth sports experience.
Right.
And for those of you who don't know your background as well, you come from a family of athletes. Your brother plays in the NFL, your dad was a collegiate swimmer. And so talk about your youth sports experience growing up. What sports did you play? How did you get into sports? Was it competitive? Tell us about that.
It's interesting for me to have gone as far as I did in sports. I started pretty late in my career. The first time I really did organized sports was my freshman year of high school. And so youth sports for me was doing a lot of activities outside. My sister and I love camps. So we would always do like basketball camps, volleyball, kayaking, canoeing, day camp. Like we just like to be outside and moving around. And so a lot of my youth was spent just being as active as I could outside. And naturally, it all kind of lined up where I attended a high school, Morgan Park High School in Chicago, that were state champs, state runners up. And so I came into a program that had this great success and I wanted to be a part of it. And so that's really when everything kicked off for me and I got hungry for more in sports.
So you never played any organized sports until your freshman year of high school.
Crazy, right? Yeah, the only thing I did in elementary school was cheerleading, and every year we had this 50-yard dash where each class would race off and I would win. And so I take pride in that because I would beat the boys. And yeah, that was pretty much
Wow.
it. Yeah.
And so when
And
you
I
got
and
to
I
high school,
appreciate that because it allowed me to just have fun, and I wasn't in a rush to necessarily be on a team in a team sport. Like I was enjoying just being outside and being a kid, and essentially I was getting that anyway. But I think it gave me more longevity in my career because it never felt like I had to do anything. It was always my choice, and I was doing stuff I was excited about and moving, and so once high school came along and I realized how good I was already and how better the further I could go, the more I trained and like put work into it. That's when I really tapped into that athlete mentality and was in there ever since.
that's amazing. And so did your high school coach like recruit you to come compete on the track and field team, or did you seek out that
My
experience?
brother attended Morgan Park as well. So he was already going into his senior year, or he was graduating from Morgan Park. And Morgan Park is a Chicago public school. And so I already knew they had a history of sports programs, and I knew I wanted to run track. One of my favorite athletes is Jackie Joyner Kersey. And through competing at Morgan Park, we attended the JJK relays every year, and I got to meet her and build a relationship with her. And so it just flowed after I wasn't necessarily recruited. They knew enough about me, but once I came in, like the summer before my freshman year, I did summer track with them and I ran in their track program. That's when we really knew that I had something to bring to the table.
Amazing. And then you ended up competing obviously in college at a very high level, an All-American, and you competed in shot put too. And so
Yes, shot
I'm
put is
I'm
my
curious.
baby.
Yes. And so did you when high school did you compete in shot put as well, or did that not happen later until college? And how,
Yeah.
did somebody recruit you over to the shot put?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I have to give credit to Coach Calhoun again for shot put. So crazy story. In my junior year of college, of high school, I tore my meniscus in my knee during long jump. And I went to a school, so in high school you can do up to 4 events. And at on my team, everyone did 4 events to get as many points, but like our sprinters would be jumpers and throwers and whatever we needed to score points. And so I was really good at triple jump and explosive. And so I tore my meniscus that way. And I had a partial tear. I was out for the entire season. And so it wasn't until later through the season, through my recovery and rehab, that the only thing I could really do was throw a shot put. So like one day I saw him training one of the girls, and I was like, I just finished up my rehab that we were conducting with the team, and I was just like, man, can I just try it? And like, I stood there through the shot put, and he was like, okay, let's try this way. And then, so shot put became the only event I could do because I couldn't run because of my knee. And so I got better and better at it. And one meet at Jackie Joyner Kersey relays, I believe, it was just really cold and rainy outside. And I just, for some reason, gave it all I got. And I threw like over 40 feet from like the standing position. And we were like, oh my goodness, we're really onto something with shot put. And so I stuck with it. Once I got back healthy, I was competing and stayed at shot put. And shot put really became my bread and butter. It was like a way for me to channel that power and that speed from from sprinting and really get that explosiveness. And I went on to be like a 5-time All-American, Big Ten record holder in shot put. So it's crazy how that transition happened.
Just leveraging the time from when you were injured just to
Yeah,
try something new.
and it allowed me to slow down and learn a new event that I may not have learned. I wouldn't have learned because I was good at other events to where we could score points. So it was like, okay, now what should we do and how should we operate? And so once we figured out that shot put was something um I could really own, then we were like, okay, let's hone in on this. And then I was shot putting, then I would run and get in the sprint blocks and be in a relay or whatever I needed to do to help the team win.
And I feel like that's such a good message for right now too, just taking advantage of downtime to try something new. And when you're at
Yeah.
home and you have more downtime, have you ever wanted to try to learn something and just give something a try and see what happens? You could turn into a Big Ten record holder and All-American and something you never
Yeah,
tried.
it's possible. I've definitely been trying to learn something new. I recently purchased some crocheting items. My homegirl actually does that, so we're gonna make it a FaceTime thing. I don't know what I'm gonna make. I'm just gonna kind of aim for a blanket, but to be continued.
Nice. I love it. I want to hear about that. I'm gonna check in next month
Okay.
and see how the crochet is going.
Right.
So then you went on and you competed in college at the University of Illinois in track and field and shot put,
Yeah.
and obviously competed in the Olympics in
Yes.
bobsledding. And
Uh-huh.
so talk about going from track and field to bobsledding and
Yeah.
that process. I'm very intrigued.
It was an interesting process. So I went into the sport of bobsled in 2012, 2 years before my first Olympic Games. And so to shift into a mindset where I wanted to become an Olympic medalist in a sport I had no background in sounds so crazy right now, but that's literally how I had to own it in order to become this Olympian. And I trained with a lot of football players, and that helped me because my brother was in the NFL. So I trained at the gym he trained at, EFT Sports Performance in Highland Park, Illinois. And the owner, Elias Karras, is such a sweet man. He's like my godfather, and he really helped me to line myself to push for this Olympic run and to become a bobsledder. I was up really late one night, and I just missed being an athlete. I was working at EFT Sports Performance at the time, and I was a trainer and sports performance coach, and I was helping everyone else like really attack their goals, and it was fulfilling. But I felt like I didn't give myself that same opportunity, and so I went to him about bobsled, and I showed him some videos and told him how I had to do these combine style testing events, which is similar to what football players do. And EFT trains guys for the NFL combine every year and the NFL draft. So it was perfect. I trained with those guys, and it really helped me mentally and physically because in bobsled, I have to learn how to compete against my teammates as well as be a great teammate and help. And so that on and off switch and just having that strong mentality was something that those guys from training with the football players, they really instilled it in me.
That's pretty amazing. And just want to go to some of the people here tuning in. Molly Whitaker, Marty Reed, Amanda Marchese,
Oh,
Beth Maloney.
nice.
Jenny just commented in such a great lesson for how to handle injury and turn a negative into a positive.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Trey says, happy belated birthday, Asia.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
I love it. If anybody has questions, please feel free to comment them in and I'll make sure I read them to Asia so she can get your messages. So, thinking about, most people, I'm guessing, I'm not positive, but I'm guessing maybe have never participated in bobsledding. So just talk about what
Right.
is it like? What's the experience to be on a bobsled team and how, first, what is it like? And then also, how do you serve as a good teammate in that
Yeah.
bobsled setting?
Bobsledding is a very intense sport. I don't know if there's any like manual or bobsledding one-on-one class that will help you get the full essence of the sport. It is a mile long track. And once I do my part at the start where I run and sprint and hop in the sled, the driver steers it down the track. And it's not a steering wheel or anything. We use a steering mechanism and there are D-rings with the ropes attached, and that's how they steer down the track. So it's like two wheel drive. When you pull it to the right, the runners in the front will go to the right. When you pull it to the left, they'll go to the left. So the entire time they're steering down the track like that. And it was hard for me because at first I just didn't have much control of what would happen after I hopped in. And so it was always this fear of like, am I going to crash or what's going to go on? But we have such amazing drivers to where I felt confident every time. And I'm actually like one of the only people on the team that have never crashed down the track. It's crazy. Yeah, I
Wow.
know. Two Olympics in
Blessing.
and still no crash. So we're knocking some wood for that one. But it's cold, it's loud. You feel the wind. We reach up to speeds of 90 miles an hour depending on the day and the track and the conditions. It's a loud kind of bumpy ride because it's hard ice and you're going over in these steel runners. A lot of twists and turns, and when we go through a lot of those big curves, we battle gravity, so we're pulling like 4 or 5 Gs. So we're going against the force of gravity, and it's like pushing me down into the sled, compressing us down. And so it's intense. I don't even like roller coasters, so Sometimes I don't know how I became a bobsledder, but I think the competitive side and just realizing all the beautiful things that came with that platform helped me to keep it going.
Yeah. And I mean, this might be a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it. Is there such thing as youth bobsledding? Like, if you're a kid and you want to get into it, is there up that
Um,
opportunity anywhere in the US?
well, if a kid wants to get into sliding sports, a lot of luge athletes start younger. So, like, that's one of the sports that are one more dangerous, but it takes a lot more for them to learn. That's where they're going down on their backs and steering with like their feet and the ankles. And that sport, they start pretty young. Not too many bobsledders outside of our driver, Cody, who started off a little young. He's from Lake Placid. A lot of athletes that are bobsledders start later in their careers, like after college. It's kind of like this second chance sport to where you can bring everything you learned from other sports. So a lot of athletes transition, like you're a track and field athlete, football, softball, power sports, and you still have an opportunity to pursue your Olympic dreams. And so it gives you a unique opportunity to keep striving for whatever those goals were you had in a different sport.
Right. And then I'm also curious about coaching. So obviously
Yeah.
Positive Coaching Alliance, but what are the differences in, your track and field coach out on the track with you or next to you in the shot put ring, and then coaching in bobsledding? What are the
Mhm.
differences in the coaching aspects?
Um, we have different coaches for different things. I mean, that's similar for track and field. I had a head coach, and then I would have someone I would work with just for my event specific stuff. And so in bobsled, you have your head coaches, you have coaches that the drivers specifically work with to go over lines and what routes and stuff they should take. And then you have push coaches who are the people I work with that help me with my technique. And we literally analyze on an iPad my form in between runs so I can make adjustments. And so we have a variety of coaches depending on what you need and what your position is. And it's interesting. It's similar to track and field in having kind of that prelim and finals type of mentality. So like if you needed to change anything after your first run, you had an opportunity to adjust and to perfect it for your second run. And I think that it's a lot more technical in bobsled for me just because you every hundredth of a second matters, and so you want to be as efficient as possible in the sport, and you want to be aerodynamic and relaxed. And so you're constantly always on and thinking about ways you can help benefit the team. And
And
the
then
coaches are awesome. They're very empowering and they give great direction. And I like coaches that understand how to communicate with me and how to get their message across in a way I can understand, because I feel like that's important. Every athlete isn't the same. Every coach isn't the same either, but I feel like it's more so on the coaches to help understand the best way your athletes communicate and receive information so you can make sure they're continuing to excel.
totally. And then, so before the bobsled race, does the coach meet with the people who are actually going to be in the bobsled right before, and then it's like, okay, go? Or is the only coaching happening during practice and then maybe in between runs analyzing what happened? Or is it like,
Um,
I played basketball. It's like the team's in the huddle and
yeah.
it's like, all right, great, go out and play. Or is it you're kind of on your own?
No, they're very involved. And we see our coaches right at the start of the race. They flip the sleds down. So like the coach and the athlete interaction happens throughout the entire race, and throughout the entire training. We're really a family that is around each other 24/7. Each week we're in a different country, in a different city, traveling, training, sleeping. Like we have to do everything together. And so, it just, you just build this family and this flow. And so coaches are pretty involved in our day-to-day training, as well as reviews and stuff in between runs, and just checking in to make sure we're fine and we don't need anything, or you know what I'm saying, like just to
Yep,
help in any way they can.
totally. Fran Jacobs says hello from Reno, Nevada. So tuning in from Reno. Um,
I attended UNLV in Las Vegas, Nevada for my freshman year of college.
that's
Yeah,
right.
so I have some love for Nevada. Beautiful weather out there.
Love it. Keenan Big, Amy Manson, and then Rob, who, as you know, Positive Coaching Lines has
Oh,
a
what's
local office
up?
there in
Yeah,
Chicago. So
hello.
Rob said, Chicago proud, Asia. Thanks for joining PCA today. So
Oh, awesome.
So I wanted to also ask you, so positive coaching, when some people hear the term and they've never heard of Positive Coaching Alliance or just that term, some people might think it's like, everyone gets a trophy and it's a lot of fluff and,
Mhm.
rah rah, this is what positive coaching is. When you think of positive coaching and, how coaches can get the best out of you or got the best out of you, how would you describe what positive coaching is?
For me, when I think of positive coaching, I even think about my own self-talk and how I had to shift the way I was talking to myself because I felt like in the past, I was more so always like looking at it from this kind of stern negative perspective, like I did something wrong or I have to try and do this better, or and when I think of positive coaching, it isn't just like fluff or people just congratulating you or telling you did good when you didn't. It's about empowering you and giving you the confidence you need to keep pushing forward, providing you with positive self-talk, positive criticism that makes you excited for that growth and to keep going. I think that it's a more encouraging tone. It's an interaction to where you know that the coaches care about you from a very genuine point, and you're not just an athlete or just someone there to help the team. Like you're a valued part of the program, and so I think that positive coaching is instilling that value and that trust and that confidence. And when you do that in a positive way, you get excited and you want to succeed and you want to do better. So if I were to hear just some fluff, I wouldn't buy into it. So I know
Right.
that positive, right? Yeah. So it hits you a little differently for sure.
You articulated that so well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, So I also wanted to ask you about, obviously you've competed in Olympic Games and we were supposed to be having Olympics in Tokyo in 2020. I know that you have some friends who were training to compete in these Olympic Games this year and they've obviously been postponed as of now, but can you talk about kind of the vibe in some of those athletes, what they're feeling, what kind of the general sentiment is about the Olympic Games?
For sure. I personally couldn't imagine like to be an Olympic hopeful at this time or, pushing for the 2020. It's so much uncertainty everywhere that I think that athletes have learned to find balance in it. It's so much that's not out of our control. And because it wasn't canceled and it was just kind of postponed to another year, it's still so much opportunity there. I think that from what I know with some of my friends in some Summer Olympic sports like track and field or fencing, a lot of them have mixed emotions like everyone else during this time. I think it's hard to stay 100% confident when you were preparing for this one moment this year and to now have it pushed back, especially say you had a great year or if you were really aligned and qualified for the Olympic Games. Now it's another year and it's 365 days until for someone else to come in and take your spot or something to happen. And so I think it's a lot of uncertainty going around, but I also feel that people are learning to accept it and to stay empowered and optimistic about 2021. And everyone seems so encouraging. I think initially it stings just a little bit, for
Yeah.
sure. I can't imagine like being an Olympian and winning an Olympic medal is some of the best experiences I had, and I learned so much from that journey. And so the journey is still there, and I think that's the important part. But 2021 will definitely be one for the books.
For sure, for sure. Well, we're looking forward to it if it all works out. And of course,
Yeah,
health and safety is number
for
one. So,
sure.
Will Ortiz wrote in, and I don't know if you have an answer to this question, but he was actually asking about flexibility. He was saying he has his daughter practice yoga for flexibility in lacrosse. And do you have any recommendations on staying flexible as an athlete?
Yeah,
Anything
I
that
love
you,
yoga. When I would train with the football players in the off season, we would do hot yoga and just yoga on Wednesdays as an active recovery. And so it's flexibility for me. I had to have flexibility in bobsled because I'm in the back of the sled, so I want to be as low as possible so the airflow goes over her head and down my back. So it's very efficient, aerodynamic. And so in order to do so, I had to incorporate a lot more mobility work in my workouts. Stretching is so important after workouts, not just stretching like cold, making sure your body is warmed up and you're cooling down and stretching and giving yourself time to recover just as much as you did with putting in the work. And I think that just being cognizant of like your stretching and your recovery and your sleep will help so much in sports and in performance. But yeah, I had to really work on my flexibility and it made my performance a lot better.
Good question, Will. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah.
So for the last couple minutes, Asia, would just love to hear a little bit more about the work that you're doing
Mhm.
in your community there in Chicago. You had a birthday workout that I know benefited
Yeah.
an organization that you work with on
Uh-huh.
Tuesday, but just tell us a little bit more about some of the initiatives that you're working on and the impact that you're making in the community.
Yeah, I have an organization called Aspiring Journeys Ahead. That's the AJA, Asia Foundation. And what it's about is empowering young women and female athletes with the tools to make the most of their journey. And I feel like it came about from realizing the power in the network I built as an Olympian and throughout the process of building my brand and just finding resources to make it happen because we're not funded by the government. And so we receive stipends. You have to fund your way to make the team. And so it's really important to learn how to represent yourself and to build your brand. And so in doing so, I realized the power that I had and that these girls could benefit from it way earlier in their life than I did. And so if there's any way I could help them make the most of their journey, figure out things they want to do, feel confident in pursuing sports and being passionate about other things as well. I think just knowing that you have possibilities and you can do and be whatever you want is important. And so for my birthday, I worked with the organization Precious Dreams Foundation, which is founded by Nicole Russell. And this organization provides foster kids and homeless kids with comfort items. And so there are these comfort bags that include books, new pajamas, house slippers, blankets, journals, activities, and toys. And it's just about providing them with the tools they need to rest at night and to have their dreams and to dream. And I think that it's important to find comfort, especially right now, because um, I think that being home and dealing with so much uncertainty just showed me the beauty in the little things I have and the things that I can wake up and be grateful for and that bring me comfort and joy. And so to that, and you know it can always be worse. So that was one of
Totally.
the things that really drove me. And so we did this workout on Instagram live with my girl Sarah Farias, who's a fitness trainer, and we share the same birthday, and we raise funds to deliver comfort bags to an organization here in Chicago. So this morning I delivered some of those items curbside to Cornerstone Community Outreach to help benefit the children there.
Amazing. And
Thank
I
you.
know that you're working on a website right now to get
Yes.
launched, but that for people tuning in now to learn more can go to your Facebook page, which is Asia
Yes.
Evans. If you search it,
Agent
verified page,
Evans.
yep,
Yeah.
you'll see it
And
pop up
you
right
can
there.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, you can see all of the latest things I'm involved with, and feel free to shoot me a message or ask me any questions. And I'll make sure to give you guys the information as soon as like the website and everything else is up and running.
Absolutely. And follow her on Instagram too, because you never know when another workout's going to happen.
Oh,
So
yes, please follow me on Instagram. I'm thinking of bringing some of the workouts and that fun to Facebook. I enjoy working with my Facebook family too. And so this is cool. This is my first Facebook Live. So there's that
there we
too.
go. I love it. Well, Asia, thank you so much, for being involved with Positive Coaching Alliance, serving on our National Advisory Board, being involved there in Chicago and more broadly. And you're just such a great role model, not only for women, but for everyone who's participating in sport. And thanks for sharing some of your wisdom today.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. It's always a pleasure and nothing but great energy when I'm with PCA. And so I'm honored to be on the National Advisory Board, and I hope to do more work with you guys again in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye.